This is your First Alert Weather Breakdown, a deep dive into how weather works with meteorologist Evan Thomason.
Hey, good morning. Welcome on to the First Alert Weather Breakdown. Meteorologist Evan Thomason appearing on your screen in just a moment, but I want you to look at a much more prettier picture here this morning. My goodness. Bright, beautiful blue skies and sunshine. We had some of this out yesterday afternoon, but it is great to see an entire day of this finally in the Arklatex once again here for your Tuesday. It's a glorious day, a glorious Tuesday, and you can look forward to lots more of this for most of the rest of the week, as well as, honestly, most of our long-term forecast is looking pretty dry, which is, quite frankly, exactly what we need here in the Arklatex to be able to recover from the storms that hit over the weekend. My goodness, it was quite, oh man, just quite the mess, NWS continues to come in with more tornado reports here locally into the Arklatex. We'll have more on that actually in tomorrow's episode, and like a full recap. We're going to do that into tomorrow's episode. That's a preview of tomorrow. For today, though, we are previewing something a little more, what's the word I'm looking for? A little more predictable down the road, I guess, so to speak. Hurricane season. We're looking to preview that here on the First Alert Weather Breakdown here for today. First time I've mentioned hurricane season or tropical season or tropics all year long. I know it's April. You're like, Evan, please keep the door shut on the tropic season. Well, thankfully I still will. Again, tropics doesn't start until 2 months away, but it starts within 2 months. It starts at the beginning of June here. And first of all, knock on wood, I hope we don't get a barrel situation like we did last July. That was just ugly when it ended up happening here in the Arklatex from that system. It was just, July's. If you remember last July, that was like our only rain system for the entire month, was that entire system that went on through. Obviously, the tornadoes were a massive, massive issue for the Arklatex, but at least we got the rain from it, but it was still a nasty, nasty system, obviously, with all the tornado warnings. I hope we don't get anything like that this year at all. We'll see. We'll keep you first alert like we did last time, but this is why we keep you first alert about the tropics, even though we are inland. Any time those tropical systems target anywhere near the Arklatex, it could be a flash flooding threat. It could be a long rainy day. It could be, regardless, it still gives us tremendous impacts, is what I'm trying to get at here in the Arklatex. So that's a part of our rundown here. We're just previewing the hurricane season on top of going over the local forecast, which, I'm not going to lie to you, is a little tame, honestly, here for the region. But hey, I'm not complaining. I am enjoying the sunshine out as I think I'm going to mention this yesterday. Like, sometimes a long sunny forecast is kind of bland for me, and I'm like, meh. It's a little boring to me. I always like and get myself excited and get lots of adrenaline when the rain comes and the storms come around. This time I'm like, no. We had 4 first alert weather days straight of rain and severe storms, which we're trying to still recover from, and I personally am recovering from that still, I feel like, in a way, energy-wise. So I'm enjoying a calm week. You and I both can enjoy that. All right, so let's get back into the graphics here and go back into our local forecast as I start to control my graphics. So I do want to remind you, for those of you watching on YouTube, you can feel free to leave a comment, question, if you have anything otherwise to ask here for the day today, or if you have a question about any of the graphics I present to you on this First Alert with a breakdown. So let's go on into other skylines, such as Texarkana. If you notice, it's almost like copy-paste. Did you even notice that I changed the graphic? Maybe not. Point is, it's blue skies, it's sunshine here for the day today. Here's your big weather headlines here for your Tuesday. Cold morning overall. This is pretty much the tail end of it before we rapidly warm up. In fact, we are in the process of rapidly warming up into a much warmer day for the day today here for your Tuesday. We're looking at high temperatures this afternoon being about nearly 10 degrees warmer than that of yesterday. And that's probably the biggest swings and changes here in the forecast here for the short term and honestly for the long-term period as well. Meanwhile, sunshine is ahead here for the region in the Arklatex. Honestly, there's not a major rain chance in sight. We're going to talk about that more coming up in the future tracks ahead. Temperatures right now, though, 63 in Shreveport, 61 in Texarkana, 61 in Natchitoches, and this is honestly impressive enough. I know you're thinking, well, it's April. Temperatures should be like this, kind of around 10:30 in the morning. Well, let me just say, we start off with morning lows around the upper 30s and lower 40s, not just 3 hours ago. And within those 3 hours, we have increased these temperatures by 20 degrees in for most locations. So that is quite an impressive temperature warm-up in the matter of 3 hours, I must say. And most of that's because of the sunshine here for the day today, especially because it's going to be with us throughout the entirety of the day. Yesterday, we started off with a cloudy note, and then we got the sunshine to help warm us up. Now we get the entire day to warm us up. Here is the big picture of things, which we always want to go into length on, which we always want to go into a full discussion on here on the First Alert with a Breakdown, because we want to break on and expand on the forecast always here in the podcast. So, low pressure center and cold front off to our east. That was the system that plagued us here all weekend long. In fact, I'm actually going to remove my head so you can view Florida there. Even though obviously it's not part of the Arclitex, we do have some storms clipping the Florida peninsula from the cold front that affected us this past weekend, and the end of last work week. Thankfully, that is going off the shore of the United States there for the most part, and that's going to lead us on to a beautiful beautiful conditions being brought into the east coast of the United States now, and you could say again goodbye to the final bits and pieces of that system that made us quite the mess here over the past couple of days. Low pressure center is on the west coast as well. That's the only other system affecting the United States here for the time being, giving us a couple mixed showers in the areas mostly in the Pacific Northwest. That system is going to be the next system we're watching out for here locally in the Arclitex. I will say, here for the time being, today and tomorrow, we are completely underneath the high-pressure system, which keeps us completely dry here in the Arclitex. Now, I will say, that low-pressure center out to the west, I don't want to get you worried at all. That low-pressure system is not going to affect us too much, especially when it comes to our conditions. We'll have more on that here in just a moment. But I want to really focus and hone in on this high-pressure system here, because we have cold air that's been continuously coming through here for the past couple of days. Sunday, yesterday were both chilly, so was this morning, all because this high-pressure system was off to our west and helping to really dive down and amplify the temperatures we face behind that cold front. Meanwhile, on the west side of this high-pressure system, we got warmer air. And guess what this high-pressure system is moving? It's moving eastward. Now it's mainly off to areas directly to our south, so we're starting to pick up a little bit on some southerly flow here, especially later on this afternoon. And that, combined with the sunshine, is really what's going to help to warm up and really amplify our temperatures. We have a good warm-up coming here in the next several days around the Arclitex. So, dry conditions around us here for now. We'll take a look at the future track here in just a little bit, but let's get you the full kind of overall temperature outlook here over the next several days. So, again, it's been cool here for the morning hours this morning, but then thankfully we warm temperatures on up. And I just realized this graphic hates me. Look, you see the colors in the background not even changing. Watch this. So again, we warm up all the way into Thursday, and then we bring back in cool temperatures briefly into Friday and Saturday morning, and the colors in the background. Thank you very much, graphic. I feel like this happens and I keep forgetting about this every single time. This graphic works for me like every single time when I put it on during shows. Morning shows, 9 a.m. shows, the shows I typically do. This graphic works just fine. It works like a charm. But when I put it on the First Alert with a Breakdown at 10:30, I think it's just updating. And usually when some of these graphics update, when it especially comes to some of these weather models, when you have these temperature colors, temperature contrast, they're just updating just now. They sometimes don't get their full picture in, so to speak. And that's what kind of leaves the graphic kind of just stuck like this, where my words are just moving around and there's no support from the supporting cast, which is essentially the supporting colors in the background, which should have been supporting this graphic. Anyways, point is, we have a brief cool down at a Friday and Saturday morning behind a dry cold front. I really want to stress out the word dry into you here for the day on Thursday. That's going to be very brief, though. Most of the weekend should be very, very warm. I think Friday is going to be the main day, and a little bit of Saturday again, to where temperatures could be a little cooler, on the cooler side of things. But even then, it's not expected to be by that much. Well, I'll show you exactly what I'm looking at. When it comes to these numbers here coming up. So let's give you some numbers, at least for the short term, of what the temperatures are doing. Highs today, thankfully, get up to around I'd say low to mid 70s. So some highs that peak up into the mid 70s here for the day today. Overall, the point is warmer than yesterday, and that's going to affect, again, our morning temperatures as well. It doesn't just affect our afternoons, too. It still gets a little chilly, though, regardless. You'll probably need a good sweater here for you out the door for tomorrow morning. Low temperatures will be down into the 40s for you then in for Wednesday. Then heading into Wednesday afternoon, we get high temperatures up to around 80 degrees, just about. Some of us may be reaching highs in the lower 80s, and then highs creeping all the way into the mid to upper 80s, especially for those of you in the southern half of the Arklatex. In for Thursday afternoon, you're gonna break a sweat, especially for some of those excuse me, some of those you working outside on Thursday afternoon. As for the future track, this is a short-term future track. This is nice and a complete blank slate here around the Arklatex. The only thing I'm watching out for is a little bit of cloud cover rolling in here for Thursday. I think today and tomorrow completely dry, completely sunny. Not a chance of even cloud cover in sight here for today and tomorrow. Thursday, we do get some enough moisture essentially to give us cloud cover with the cold front coming on Thursday, but not enough moisture to give us really any realistic chance of rain. We'll show that further for you in the long-term future track. Again, all the way into Thursday, you see some cloud cover kind of briefly brushing on by. If you look at the rain, though, most of this rain with this upcoming system is going to be off toward north and east, out towards essentially Little Rock and towards Monroe. Most of it's not going to be hitting the Arklatex. I have a stray 10% rain chance just in case models do move the rain slightly farther out to the west, but overall I'm not really expecting it. And even if it comes in, I'm not expecting much really at all. Overall, it's dry through Sunday if you look at that long-term future track. So highs over the next several days up to 84 for you on Thursday before highs dip back down thanks to that cold front again. But even then, the cold front only hits us so much. Highs will pretty much be around average in the mid to upper 70s here to wrap up the work weekend Friday and also into Saturday, too. And again, those rain chances slim on the 10% chance on Thursday, and that's really it. Friday and Saturday both completely dry. There's your full 7-day forecast here for you. Again, nice sunny conditions, nice dry conditions over the next entire week. Overall, my next major chance of rain actually creeps in immediately after the 7-day forecast. I'm expecting our next major rain chance somewhere around Tuesday of next week. As of right now. And some of that could maybe roll into Monday. It doesn't look like it at this point, which is why I kept that rain chance at 0 for you then. But we'll see, and we'll keep you first alert the closer we get into the closer we get into the first part of next week. Point is, though, throughout the rest of this week and for this weekend, it's looking absolutely lovely. I can confirm that. Temperatures, again, highs up to 84 on Thursday, getting briefly down in the upper 70s for Friday and Saturday, but look at Sunday and Monday. It warms back on up. Highs could peak around 90 degrees on Monday. So, yeah, most of the forecasts I mentioned kind of tame, yes. Not much rain to talk about at all, so most of my forecasts have just been talking about temperature swings, which are for good measure, always good to talk about them, especially when we had such a cold end to the weekend and also chilly day yesterday. Also cold this morning. I'll mention that as well. But thankfully, our warming trend is pretty much starting now, and that's carrying on at least through Thursday. And even with that cold front coming through on Thursday, it doesn't really put that much of a dent into the temperatures at all. Not really looking that impressive and overall looking fairly weak here in the Arklatex. All right. Coming up next, we are going to be previewing the tropical season. Is it above average? Is it below average? We have a forecast for you in store that we've gotten from some resources here at KSLA News 12. We'll have the latest on the prediction for the hurricane season, and in addition to that, we got some news. This was already to go over there on KSLA News 12 already, but we did hear some news about Beryl that will also reinforce on the first low with a breakdown. Coming up next. Welcome back to the first Low Weather Breakdown. Thanks again for tuning on in to my weather rant, essentially. So, again, welcome back. For those of you new, again, we go over the forecast and we go over some exclusive content. And last week, for those of you with us, last week we essentially just went over first alert weather days. We really didn't even have any time to kind of evolve into different weather topics, to explain some things, talk about some other stuff. Besides just, what's immediately happening in our forecasts. That for good measure, obviously severe weather takes most and utmost priority here in the Arklatex, and especially on this first low weather breakdown whenever it comes on in. But sometimes you need those sunny days to kind of go over some other topics, because this would have been a great topic for last week, because technically this came out during our stretch of first solar weather days at the end of last week. We did have a preview of the hurricane season come out by Colorado State University. And Evan, you're like, why are you pulling some random university out of your back pocket, essentially there? Well, Colorado State University is known for their meteorology school, first, number one. Number two, yes, it seems kind of weird to me, because why is an inland college predicting the hurricane season as well for the Atlantic season that's not even the closest ocean to Colorado? I'm questioning myself why Colorado State does this. Anyways, point is, Colorado State is one of the top meteorological universities across the United States. They have some professors that are really that essentially get together to help produce one of the most accurate and well-known forecasts to preview what hurricane season could look like. It's essentially, if the Climate Prediction Center, sometimes we go over like the long-term forecast that essentially go beyond not just the 7-day forecast, but go beyond the 12-day forecast and show what kind of hints we can get at for the month and the season, so to speak. So essentially what they look at is they look at trends. What kind of fuel does the hurricanes have? And what they examine is what does the water temperature look like in the Atlantic for this upcoming season? What could that be? How are the overall wind patterns going to shift? Another big factor into that is El Nino and La Nina, which is, believe it or not, a oscillation of temperature, which is essentially an oscillation of temperatures happening in the Pacific Ocean, but it's all connected worldwide, actually. That's a pretty cool system in and of itself. So that plays a vital role into just, will the hurricane season be below average? Will it be average, or will it be above average in regards to activity? So here are the results. And unfortunately, it is an above average season that is predicted for this year. This is latest from the Colorado State University meteorological program over there at Colorado State University. Again, this has been proven to be quite accurate. I don't have the accuracy stats here for you, but this is what's expected here as of this year. We're expecting 17 named storms, around 19, thankfully not 19 hurricanes, around 17 named storms total, 9 hurricanes, and 4 major hurricanes, which are all above average. Just so the average amount of named storms per year for the tropical season are somewhere in the ballpark of 14. So it's not that much above it's just a little bit above average. Hurricanes usually somewhere in the ballpark of like 7 on a normal year, and major hurricanes is around like 2. So obviously it is above average, yes. I will say, however, if you may be looking forward to some kind of optimistic trend, last year, I did go over the stats from last year after, everything was recounted and everything. There were 18 named storms last year in 2024, one more than what is predicted for this year. There were 11 total hurricanes, 2 more than what's predicted this year, and there were 5 major hurricanes. So the hope is that maybe we are trending downward overall from last year, which would be good. So maybe that's good news, but we're still above average with our predictions here, essentially, overall. That is what's expected here in the Arklatex. And I'll leave this graphic up as I make my last point here. This is new from the hurricane. They have a hurricane committee. I believe it's called WMO is the symbol for it. WMO Hurricane Committee. They retired. They are in charge of retiring hurricanes and tropical systems. They do that, obviously, after all the damage assessments are done. The storms themselves are obviously way over They declared last week that Beryl is going to be retired. In addition to that, Helene and Milton will also be retired too, but those were the 3 storms that made the most damage. Obviously, the one that made the most damage here in the Arklatex was Beryl by far. All those tornado warnings here locally. It's definitely a day to remember here in the Arklatex in early July. Man, I remember that storm coming on in. It was wild that morning, especially with how rapidly the tornado threat increased for that day. And we were on air for KSLA News 12, 8 straight hours. Wild day. Wild day for you there. So National Hurricane Center did retire that storm. Again, an above-average season predicted for this year, but if you want to look forward to anything, maybe it's looking a little less than what was found last year. We'll see. All time will tell. Time will tell. Obviously, the season starts up in June. I would say the major part of the season starts up, though, in August, usually. But I do want to stress that it starts out in June. The only reason I say August is because usually the most major of hurricanes, what people recall hurricane season for is usually August, September, and October. But we definitely want to make sure you're first aware and first alert. And I will put back up those tropic graphics. And if you remember on First Alert with a Breakdown, the early part of this show last year, I ran first of all, this debuted in July. This entire podcast debuted in July about, man, this is now 9-month-old baby. Point is, big baby. Anyways, point is, we did segments on the tropical season pretty much once every week just to literally go into, okay, what's happening right now? What can I expect here a little bit down the line? Is anything expected to form at all? If not, why is it so quiet? Essentially, it's just like your weekly check-in. Like you go into the doctor's office or you go to the pharmacist and you check in and refill your prescription, once every week. You get your 1 dosage of tropics once every week, essentially. To watch out for the tropics in the Arklatex, because essentially it's hard to go into it in the news shows because especially if it's quiet, it's like, what do you talk about? It's quiet. Boom. Period. We're done. End of discussion there. But, there's so much more to discussing besides it's just a quiet outlook, so to speak. So we go over tropics in and of its entirety on the First Alert Weather Breakdown, especially once we get into hurricane season. So those graphics will be coming back 2 months. This is the first time I mentioned tropics at all this year. It's still April. Hopefully I won't mention it again maybe for another 2 months. We'll see. All right, when we come back, we'll recap this episode real quick, and we'll see what you can look forward to for tomorrow's episode. Tomorrow, real fun episode. Promise. I'll be back right after this. Welcome on back to the First Alert Weather Breakdown. Again, I'm meteorologist Evan Thompson. Thanks for joining us on the preview of the tropic season. In for tomorrow, we are going to be presenting to you a Met Chat, which will be shown in and of its entirety here on the First Alert Weather Breakdown. First of all, first time we've shown a Met Chat in 3 weeks. For those of you first joining us, also wondering what the heck is a Met Chat, it's essentially a chat where all 4 meteorologists are present here in the First Alert Weather Breakdown. Obviously, I'm your host. I'm the person you usually see most often on this stream, yes. But we wanted to make sure that everybody, a part of the KSLA News 12 First Alert Weather team, makes a part of in this weather podcast. So essentially, for the first time in actually 3 weeks, last 2 weeks, our schedules just did not mesh together. And I've kind of mentioned this for those of you who have been longtime listeners. It's kind of a treat to get all 4 of us together in one place. And last 2 weeks, it just didn't work out. 2 weeks ago, we had just schedule conflicts all around the place. Schedules got moved around. Last week was definitely the case. And on top of that, we had First Alert Weather Day, so that made it even worse. This week, though, we definitely made it a priority to do so, and we will present that Met Chat to you tomorrow. Essentially, tomorrow for our Met Chat, which will feature, again, all 4 meteorologists, myself, Austin, CJ, and Chief Meteorologist Matt Jones. All 4 of us will be going over the First Alert Weather Days. It's been pretty much all we're doing, but there's a lot to discuss in and of its entirety. We're going to be discussing the facts as more tornadic damage and more tornado reports and flash flooding reports continue to come in. We'll go over that, how that played out around the Arklatex. We're going to go over how this affected nationally, because there were other spots outside of the Arklatex that got hit. So we're going to go over that briefly as well. And we'll give you behind the scenes as to some of the stuff you guys missed maybe off camera with the tornado warnings. Obviously going off consistently over between Wednesday and Saturday. We'll give you a little behind the scenes look into some things that happened there as well. So lots of good info. If you want a full recap again of what happened with the flooding and the tornadoes here over the past couple of days, stay tuned here for tomorrow's episode, 10:30, First Alert Weather Breakdown. That is, again, for Wednesday, tomorrow. All right, I'll see you then. Have a great rest of your Tuesday. Enjoy the sunshine. Make the most of it. I'm going to... I'll take a good walk today. I will take a good walk today after work. It'll be good. But, yeah, make the most of it. Enjoy it. If you don't enjoy it today, guess what? There's plenty more later this week. All right. Have a good one. I'll see you on tomorrow's episode as well, 10:30, Wednesday. Be there, be square, and most importantly, be weather aware. Have a great one. Thanks for watching First Alert Weather Breakdown. Peace.